Well, welcome back to the Obojima Podcast. My name is Jeremiah, and I am joined with Adam. And we are the Obojima writers, or at least some of them. And we're here to do our weekly writers meeting, where we sit down, we chat Obojima, D&D, things we enjoy, and we try to come up with some cool ideas. And in this week's episode, we are going to attempt to write an Obojima adventure in 30 minutes.
And we have...
That's not true.
We've done zero thought.
We've done zero thought into it.
Yeah, we're just like...
Fresh, clean...
Yes.
Babies.
We're just babes in the woods.
Newborn.
Toddling into the forest.
A sea turtle thrown at Mach 10 into the ocean.
Just launched.
Ready to
Go, baby
start
turtle.
our new lives.
Yeah, we're just like flapping our little fins,
Also,
going into the vastness of the ocean.
I said 30 minutes. If these episodes are like 45 minutes, so I
Yeah.
don't know. In 40 minutes or less.
40 minutes or less.
Do we want it to be like an overarching story, like a campaign? Or is it like no, here's just like a thing that you get to explore in the larger story?
Yeah, I think let's start with a, it's a one shot. It wraps up. And but if as we trundle along on our wobbly legs, and we realize like, oh my gosh, there is a much greater campaign here, then so be it. But we could just do an encapsulated, contained story. First question, does it take place in a city or does it take place in the wilderness? Is it a journey? Or is it you're in a town and the hubbub, the adventure is in the town?
I'm partial to like a small town or like a town in the forest or something that someone, like a group of adventurers, would stumble on. So they can easily be inserted into the like flavor of the week, monster of the week, like adventure of the week, Western style, where the DM could throw this adventure in as they're exploring or going to their next big destination.
So you're in a town and the town has an existing problem or something weird
something
that's
to
going on.
that. Or maybe it's a problem that you're dealing with that leads you to the town, potentially. And now you have to figure out what's going on.
Maybe the town doesn't know that the problem is coming. It's sort of like a thing.
Oh,
and
like a little harbinger of what's to come.
Yeah, like your party has some information. It's like this town is going to get hit by this thing, or this thing's going to emerge, or there's something happening, and you've got to run and protect the town.
Ooh, what if this is something that's interesting. What if it's like a like a thing that occurs that runs you into town, or that you like? So, I don't know why I thought of this, but I imagine like the wind blooms, the flowers that are like that float.
Yeah,
they're in the gale fields. They like separate and then they like fly around like little helicopters.
The little seeds.
I imagined them all like coming together into this giant wave of wind blooms that crashes and is like chasing the party into this small town. And as the wind blooms crash, they all float and hover and circle the town. And basically you're trapped inside, cut off from the rest of the world, and you have to figure out how to like get out of the town. Like almost like, hey, we're pushing you and have trapped you. And it doesn't have to be wind blooms. That's just the first thing that I thought of, these flowers. But like, what if something pushes you into town and then you can't leave until you deal with this problem?
That makes me think of that somewhere along the way, the party has angered a spirit, maybe an elder spirit even. And it's circling this town. Or it could be that as the party is going along, this spirit, the town has angered the spirit, and the party's just kind of caught in the middle.
Yeah.
So as the party was on their way to this town, little did they know that the town has done something to anger this spirit. And so this thing comes and surrounds them with all this stuff. Now, it makes me think of like in Curse of Strahd, in Barovia, there's this mist that surrounds this area. Right. And if you go into the mist, like bad things happen. It could be a kind of a similar thing where there are all these seed pods, and if you wander into it, if you try to escape the town and defy the elder spirit, like there's some pretty negative things. So you have to, first of all, figure out why is this happening, and the town could all be sort of like lying about it. Like they don't want to admit that they've done something bad. And so they're like, oh, we don't know what's going on. Like, but you kind of get, the village elder is kind of shady, or like there's something going on there. So you have to solve that mystery first. And then once you get them to fess up, then you've got to deal with and then what does the elder spirit want to do? Does the elder spirit want to sort of hold everybody in as a prisoner until it gets what it wants, or until they sort of appease it? Or are the seed pods like encroaching in like a sort of like in Star Wars where they're the garbage compactor and it's like dun 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 dun, it's like gonna smash them, and you have a ticking clock, you have to solve it fast, and like maybe you've got 2 days to do it.
That's cool. What if it's like what if this elder spirit, like these little seedlings, I'm imagining like little awakened bulbs for flowers or something like that. Or like kind of wandering, almost like mindless. Like there's like a huge field of them, or like, I don't know, like this huge collection of them that are moving into the town, and they have nothing going on. They're all like bumping into things and falling down, and they're all like squeaking. They're not saying anything. But when someone touches them, they turn into like a tree or something like that.
Whoa.
And this elder spirit is like a forest spirit, or a spirit of like, or maybe they turn into a flower. I mean, if you've ever seen Annihilation, there's like that Tessa Thompson's character turns into like a flower bushel type thing. So yeah, you could have,
that is weird.
You could have this thing where the townsfolk are like turning into, like they touch one of them and then they turn into a plant. And then, or like a hedge that looks like a human.
They're like trapped inside of it.
And like the elder spirit is maybe like floating above the town and is like in a booming voice is telling you, you have to get me this thing, or you have to right this wrong, or whatever. Now the town, now you're playing this like the heroes are playing this investigation where they're trying to like question. No one wants to fess up to the thing that they've done, and they have to go around Clue style and talk to different people. And maybe there's someone who's like, maybe people are getting turned into, like, maybe someone's turning them into plants. Like they're kind of like trying to keep things quiet. Whoever it is turning people into plants or something, or pushing the seed pods onto them.
Yeah.
It could be like a little mystery exploration to try to figure out who's the person, who done it, who wronged the elder spirit.
And it could be like when the elder spirit is circling, maybe it doesn't, it has a different kind of intelligence, and it's repeating a phrase, and the phrase is cryptic.
Yeah.
But if you kind of do some sleuthing, you can piece together what it's actually talking about.
I'm imagining like a kind of traditional Eastern style dragon that's like longer instead of having wings, made out of like plants.
Oh, cool.
And it's floating around. It's like kind of spiraling in a circle above the village, and it's just repeating this pattern as the little seedlings / podlings or whatever are moving around. And yeah, you've stolen something. Maybe it's missing one of its eyes, or maybe it's like it's saying this thing, and you're trying to figure out maybe who's taken it.
Yeah, maybe that's what the villager. I'm thinking of like there's a like a frog kind of spirit character in Spirited Away, and he's kind of like a thiefy, like he's a sort of a ne'er-do-well. But maybe that could be one of the, maybe this village has a couple like kind of key NPCs, and this is one of them, and they've maybe coveted this eye. Maybe this elder spirit was sleeping, and they snuck in to where it was coiled up, and they popped out its eye, and we're like, hey, and I'm, like, I've got a cool thing. Yeah. And they haven't thought much beyond that. Like, it's just this really, like, they've got this kind of covetous nature. They've run off back to the thing, and now they've unleashed this, and they still, even though it's all gone haywire, they still won't admit it. Yeah. And you've got to be like, where did you hide that eye? And they're like, no, I didn't do nothing. And then,
well, I think what you could do potentially is you have that character steal it, and that's like maybe low hanging fruit, where the party sniffs that out pretty fast. Yeah. and then you find out that that person's been turned into a plant, and someone who didn't steal the eye is now holding on to it. And now there's one of the other NPCs. You're like, okay, who wants to keep this and for what reason? So then you have like 4 or 5 different people that you're like, okay, we know how it got here. We know what we're looking for, but now we don't know why someone would keep it, knowing that everyone's slowly being turned into plants as the podlings move further and further in.
So it would be then, what power does this eye have? Like, let's say you steal the eye of the Great Spirit. What does it do? Does it grant you, you can grow crops twice as fast and they're twice as abundant? So you're becoming off, your lands are abundant. Or is it that you can cast a powerful spell, or you can see through the ground and detect where all the minerals are, so you can actually like know, okay, we're going to dig here and we're going to mine up gold or whatever. It's because if you know like the power of this eye, then you can kind of say, okay, that's what motivated this sneaky one who like, told the covetous one, like, hey, I heard there was an eye there, and the covetous one's obviously going to go steal it, and then they go and
I think maybe one, like, so thinking of who would want it and why, there could be maybe one person is kind of obsessive and is a kleptomaniac and wants it. Maybe that was the frog character. Yeah. Maybe there's a witch character who sees this as an opportunity, like who understands that in order for you to find new ingredients, you have to try new things. And they see this as an opportunity to be like, what potion? Could I discover a new potion? Is this an ingredient that I could possibly use? And so they're coveting the eye, like, I'm going to use it to make potions. Like, I'm going to cut this up. I'm going to be the first person to use a spirit eye in a potion or something like that.
Yeah, like you could, this eye, when you pop it out, it's like maybe the size of like the Palantir, it's this big orb, but then it could shrink down and you could put it in your own eye. And so maybe this witch has like one magic eye of the Great Spirit and allows her to see, or him to see, like a new ingredient or ways to mix things up.
No, I'm thinking using the eye as an ingredient.
Oh,
like
okay.
This is like think of rare ingredients.
Yeah.
Where it's like you maybe a witch hears of Ronin Neko figures, but has never seen one. When you see something of this powerful, this thing, this object, you're like, I could be the witch who discovers this new ingredient.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I could be the person, and if I could get out of here and test it, like fame is and fortune is the thing that behold, like I could get this.
Or maybe the witch is tried to get into like the tall hats or something, or she tried to become one of the 3 and 30, like one of the super ups, and they either dissed her or they threw her out, like she did something wrong, or she wasn't good enough or something like that. And she's got an axe to grind, and she's like, well, this is my opportunity to show them, like, I invented this whole new thing. Or even that she's brewing like a special kind of like spell that can like blow up a coven or something, or I don't know, get her revenge. Like she's driven by the desire for vengeance.
What I think I would love is if we set this up so that whoever's running this encounter, there's like 4 people, and each one of them is just as likely to do it as the other. So you can choose which one it is.
Yeah.
So the adventure always is kind of different. Like maybe you could run the same group of people through the adventure twice, and it's slightly different depending on who is the villain.
And that also is like if somebody watches the podcast and they're going to be a player,
exactly.
then they won't know. They'll be like, it's going to be one of these people. But
we
don't. Yeah, that's cool. One could be driven by vengeance. One could be driven by power. One could be driven by greed. Like there's different motivations for each of the possible thieves.
One of them could be a spirit, and they could see this as an opportunity. Like maybe there's this feeling like the average spirit can't quite comprehend the feeling of being an elder spirit, but when they hold this eye, they get this like it's like this euphoria where it's like, oh my gosh, this is what it's like to be an elder spirit. Like when we talk about elder spirits, we talk about how their presence changes the domain around them.
Yep.
They form, this is a nature spirit of some sort. And so maybe there's tulips that grow all around them, that they form these fields of tulips around this spirit. And so when they're holding this elder spirit's eye, maybe they're a flame spirit or something like that. And the flames around them like bubble and roar and they burn extra bright and they feel warmth like they've never felt. So it's like this kind of like euphoric, like, oh my gosh, I can't get rid of this. Like it's almost like a drug to them. Like when they're not
That's
holding it,
it
doesn't make it kind of like, Lord of the Rings, Smeagol, Gollum, like the ring itself isn't making him the most powerful creature in all the land. Yeah. But when he holds it, he feels whatever. Yeah. And so it could be a similar situation with the spirit.
I mean, we this is, another podcast episode, but the idea that, what is the bridge or the gateway from being a spirit to an elder spirit? I mean, maybe it could be something like that, where the spirit that holds it can glimpse into what the reality of being an elder spirit is. And, that I feel like that journey is a altruistic or a kind one. I think if it becomes like, oh, I could get this power or it's this craving, that almost feels like it could turn something demonic. Mm-hmm. So maybe, even a spirit with the power of an elder spirit, it could actually, it'll challenge them the kind of the same way like Galadriel was challenged with the ring. Yeah. Like she could have become a demon at that point. Just totally lost it and just been like, now she's this terrible demon, witch queen. But she handles it, and then she's able to just like, oh, now I'm ready to kind of go off to the Grey Havens and live a life of peace. So this could be a challenge for that spirit character. Like they're tempted by it. Yeah. They catch a glimpse of this great sort of power, and then the story of that one particular character could be: does it turn demonic, or does it actually transcend and become an elder spirit, or does it just like think, oh, I'm not ready for that, I'm just still gonna live my spirit life and kind of groove along? But
I think another character simply just being able to manipulate the powers that the eye grants them. So something like what you were saying, like, what does this eye let you do? It's like, well, there's someone who, the witch has the desire to use it as an ingredient, the spirit has the desire to become an elder spirit, or maybe has this euphoric feeling. There's another person who just simply likes the abilities that are granted to them by this eye and don't want to give it up yet. So it's like being able to grow plants or their crops, or being able to, maybe the control pest spirits or something like that. Like there's just like all these little minor things. Like there's all like this trinket gave you a plethora of cantrips and spells that you can cast at will. And like going from like a person who's never been maybe magically inclined to all of a sudden being more skilled than like the average witch at magic. Like that has to feel great to a person.
I mean, yeah, imagine, if what the vibe we're already saying about this elder spirit is as it moves in, all this vegetation, all these seeds and pods and little bulbs kind of wander in. And so if this elder spirit is like sort of the spirit of, vegetation and growth, that's sort of its domain, and you get control of its eye, you have a fraction of that power. And maybe, it's this farmer who never, never could get his crops going. Yeah. And then he gets this, and all of a sudden he's got the greenest thumb of green thumbs. Yep. And now he can just like throw seeds and they plant, and they're the most abundant, and they're the best cantaloupes in the county. And he, is like, every time he goes to market, everybody's like, oh, you're the best. Like, it's so good to see you, Farmer Bill or whatever, and
Good old Farmer Bill.
And, so it's sort of gone from being a nobody to being the somebody. Yeah. But it's all sort of because you got the magic, the magic thing, the magic beans now. And, but then that's another kind of story where somebody who's put their identity into what they can do instead of who they are as a person. Yeah. And so there's a neat story in there that kind of is like, what happens to Farmer Bill when it's like, hey, you got to give back the eye because it's going to wipe out the town. And he's like, but if I do that, I'll be a nobody. Yeah. And then it's like, buddy, like, let's help you, get on your feet, or, find your true self, that kind of a deal.
Yeah.
Or it could be like, screw you, Farmville, you jerk.
Yeah.
Give him the boot, and then you send him and toggle him off the ramp.
Everyone's getting toggled.
Everybody's getting toggled.
Okay, so there's two other things that I think are interesting. One is this like relationship. I say relationship all the time now. I feel like ever since ever since Miles pointed out that I say the same things over and over again, it's all I think about. I'm spiraling. No, I like this this plot point of the pods kind of surrounding the village and everyone being trapped, except for perhaps the person who has the eye. So you could imagine maybe they have it on their person, as they go through the seeds, the podlings part. And so they can leave the village. And so you're kind of getting this like, who's sneaking out? Like, you have like oh, they're like somehow they're leaving, or maybe that's a clue. Is there like, how'd you get dried meats? We've been out of dried meats for 3 days now, or something like that, or 4 days. Like, I don't know how long let's say you're in there for a couple of weeks. It's like, we've been out of that for a long time. How'd you get more of those things?
Yeah.
So you can kind of like those can be some hints. But then, so that's an interesting, I don't know how we play with that plot hook. But that's a way for us to kind of poke at the person who has it, is they're able to leave, and maybe people are accusatory, like in the witch hunt, where they're like, I saw them leaving, the seed pods parted for them, and maybe that's true, maybe that's not true. But the other thing that I thought was interesting is what happens when someone gets fed up and there's another person who's trying to hunt down this MacGuffin that isn't the party, and they're more aggressive. So what happens if someone, like, it's like people are getting turned into plants, like, but they are in the safe zone. Like, how is that happening? And someone is like, maybe using Mage Hand to pull one of these pods over and threaten people, and then if they don't give it, they touch them and they turn into a plant or something like that. Like, they're trying to do the same thing that the party's doing, but maybe they're being a little too aggressive with it, and maybe being a little morally gray,
Yeah, it could be that. I think also, like, it might be interesting, like, what if you get this eye and you are thinking that, oh, I'm going to use it for my purposes or whatever, to whatever, but the eye is so powerful that it starts to change you. Like, you start to actually bend to some other kind of will, and maybe you start to do weird stuff. Like, you start to, I don't know, build something, or compulsively do something that is to, I don't know, like, I don't know, because I'm thinking like the Body Snatchers or something, where you start to transform, and so there's all these people in the town, but one person, this over time starts to act weirder and weirder, and then you're like, oh, okay, something's weird about that person, and they're doing weird stuff. Or you can see them at night, like they wander off into the podlings, and then they're communing with them, and you're like, okay, that person's lost. That person's being overtaken by this thing. Yeah, somehow.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so I think we have a good story arc. I can see where the story kind of starts and ends. Now let's fill in some of the meat of the bones here. So I think the first thing should be, what is the catalyst? Obviously, we know the catalyst for the elder spirit is that someone has stolen its eye, or maybe it, whatever it is, its horn, or whatever the thing is. But what gets the party to the location? Are they chased in? Like, maybe they're getting surrounded by the pods themselves, and they are chased into the village. Like, they just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe they go into the village and these pods appear while they're already in there. Like, what is the thing that gets them to the village?
What if it's like, what if that somebody comes and says, hey, there's something weird happening in this village, and you're like, well, we're all adventurers. That sounds like a call to action. And they say, yeah, there's there was a person who was turned into a shrub or something, or turned into a tree, and you're like, oh, that sounds weird. Okay, we'll go there. So you go there, and then you hear the story of like, yeah, some weird stuff's been happening around this town. There's 3 people actually that there were these like little bulb spirits that wandered into town, and when somebody went to pick it up, they turned into a shrub, and then that happened to 2 other people who just didn't get the memo or whatever, but now the town knows something weird is going on, and they think it's just like around. So the party goes to, they go in the tavern, they hear all the rumors, they talk to the locals, and they kind of get this weird story. They go to sleep. The next morning they wake up, and the whole village is now surrounded by thousands upon thousands of these, and they're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Like as far as the eye can see. And then over the top, there is maybe this spirit had one eye, and it's blindly kind of just drifting, like maybe it can smell, and then it's just repeating this thing over like, what, like bring back the blue stone or something. And you're like, what does all this mean? And then these little things they're in this like holding pattern, maybe every now and then they move like, 20 yards closer or something.
Yeah.
And there's just like this. So you've set up that if you touch these things, you turn to a shrub, and that there's this blind spirit looking for something, and it's repeating this cryptic message over and over again. And you're like, okay, we have only a certain amount of time before these things enter the town.
What if instead of its eyes that are missing, maybe its tongue is missing?
Ooh.
And the reason I say its tongue is because I'm floating back in the Wayback Machine to a previous podcast episode we had done about elder spirits.
Yeah.
And we made an elder spirit that was a frog or a toad. I can't quite remember. I think it was a toad. That was at odds with a snake spirit. Or maybe it was just a giant snake. I can't quite remember. But the toad had stolen the eyes of the snake.
Okay, so we've done the eye stealing gag.
We've stolen a lot of eyes.
Oh, they're fun to steal.
They are so good to steal.
They're nice and round and shiny. All right, a gross tongue. And how did they just like whacked it?
Well, I think I'm thinking about what this tongue could look like in a giant, if it's a giant dragon made out of plant life. What does the tongue of this giant dragon look like? And is it like a serpent's tongue that is like made out of vines and plants?
Yeah.
And so in which case it could be hidden in plain sight in some way.
That's true. It could also we could get abstract, and we could say like they stole its voice. Like it actually stole the voice out of it. And so
yeah, I like that.
Yeah. It's just that then it wouldn't be saying something. Maybe
that's part of it. Maybe it's like hissing.
Yeah.
It's like got this like okay, have you ever heard of and I don't know how accurate this is. So someone please don't bully me. But I believe a couple years ago they did like the recreation of what a T-Rex actually sounds like.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Does anyone know what that is? I don't know if we can play the audio. I don't think it's copyrighted, but it's like very like haunting.
Yeah, it's like yeah.
And it's like very echoey and kind of like this like chilling sound.
Yeah.
And you could imagine this giant dragon floating around, and it opens its mouth, and it just like this like revert like this very
That's cool.
Well, actually the old man voice is even crazier, like an old man groaning like
yeah wailing,
because then you go like, well, what's going on? I think if someone could commune with the elder spirit in some way, like speak to them, maybe telepathically or like messaging through the message spell, it would be like someone has stolen my voice.
That's cool. It could be that the when the wind blows through the trees, they don't make a sound. It's like you hear the wind in the trees. It's like that's part of the wind's voice. That this elder spirit could have had, there could be like things like that kind of tip off the players, to like, okay, something weird's going on. But then it's like, oh, okay, this is what happened.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's neat.
Okay, so I like that. I like the like someone looking for help type situation. I think another thing you could even do if you wanted to kind of drop some hints is have your adventuring party see some of these bulbs before they get to the town. Like see some of these little things like walking or see a creature like a Yacario. Like it's like, oh, there's someone carved a hedge to look like a Yacario on the side of the road. Yeah. And it's like, no.
Yeah, the players would actually have to see, or the adventurers would have to see a Yacario grab one of those bulbs, because if we should, if you're DMing it and you say, oh, you see these bulbs, and players are all going to like, oh, my character's going to go over and check it out. And then it's like, oh, this is like adorable little bulb and it's waddling along. And they're like, oh, I'm going to grab it. And then now they're a shrub.
Well, I think maybe what you could do is you could see a hedge of a howler or a Yacario and these bulbs like dancing on top of it.
Yeah.
And then like as the players get close, they like run away and flee.
Okay. Yeah. That works.
Or something like that. Yeah. Or maybe.
Because if they.
I'm trying to think. Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Yeah. You just, it's just like, if they see the mechanic, because if you set up early that touching bulb equals turn to shrub, then when they wake up and the village is surrounded by thousands, hundreds of thousands of these things, then they know, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
These things are all like, if we touch these, we'll turn into shrubs. And then to see them advance every day a little bit slower, like they're closing in.
Yeah, maybe what you could do is you could see the bulbs, but like put them, you just have to make them so the players can't interact with them. Like you see them off in the distance.
Yeah.
By the time the players get close, they're gone. And then when you show up to the town, maybe someone could be freaking out because right before you showed up, like the town's surrounded by someone who's like holding on to one of them, but like as a shrub, and like the thing is like climbing out of the shrub now, like the person.
Yeah. Oh man.
And so then you wake up, the elder spirit arrives. So then you need to be able to give the information that the elder spirit has been wronged, and either directly from the elder spirit.
Yeah.
But if it's lost its voice, you'll have to figure out how to commune with it. Then there's also the question of, if not the elder spirit, who else could give that information? And so maybe it's a
witch or a druid or a...
You know who it could be? And this is stuff we haven't discussed with the group yet. We haven't shared with the class. But it could be a Fumoshiki. There could be someone who's in there, who also was like drawn to this, and they're kind of like they could be like a Watson to the group's Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, that's
where they're
neat.
trying to assist. That could be, they're not the main character here, but they're able to assist in some way.
Yeah, that's great.
You could even turn them into a plant,
to a shrub,
and then that would be like we got to get them back.
I mean, there would be something interesting where they've caught one of these bulbs and they've got it in a glass jar.
Yeah,
and they're like, we've got to try to figure out, like, if we don't figure anything else out, we got to test the magical properties, see how we can maybe reverse this. Like, can these people be returned back into their human form after they've been shrubberized?
By the way, for anyone watching or listening, a Fumoshiki we'll explain in another time, but just imagine a ranger to start. They're like a ranger type character.
You're getting like trailers here.
A little trailer.
Yeah.
So like a ranger type character who could kind of be on the hunt for like also trying to solve this at a separate time. That person could also be, depending on how what their kind of personalities like, they could also be the person who's being more aggressive and maybe threatening people, like they could be turning people into plants.
They maybe, okay, so if this this character, ranger, Fumoshiki, whatever we're gonna say, maybe they were in charge of protecting this elder spirit's resting place.
Mm.
And whoever went in there and, did the deed, they stole this elder spirit's voice and ran away with it. It could be almost like a point of like honor that this ranger character's like, I'm going to smite whoever did that.
Yeah.
And they track this back to the town, and their message is like, you jerks do not know what you've just done.
Yeah.
Like, you've unleashed this horrible thing. Like, this whole island could turn to vegetation. Like,
I quite like that.
so they're ready to smite people.
Yeah,
Like,
I quite like they are trying to accomplish the same thing, but through means that maybe are more aggressive than the parties.
yeah, because they have extra information. They're like, if they don't stop this, then it could be a kind of apocalypse in some way. Like,
yeah, I mean, like it could. I mean, it's a balance. There's an unbalance.
Yeah.
They need to fix this.
it's a massive unbalance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and all these little podlings are just like, that's their job, is just turn everything to shrubs.
Yeah, they could be like, there's if you step on a flower, there's an unbalance and a new flower will eventually grow. But like, that's a small thing. That's something nature can solve on its own. Like, this will eventually right itself, but in 10, 15, 25 years, like I can right it. I can solve it right now. And if I have to be a little more aggressive, I have to be a little more aggressive. So that's a very fun, like, at odds with each other.
Yeah. What if this elder spirit was constantly whispering something that maintained that balance? And now that its voice has been stolen, it's no longer whispering this kind of counterspell. And now this thing is unleashed. Maybe the little bulb pod things are from something totally different. They don't belong. They're actually what the elder spirit was keeping control over.
Oh, that's really great. The podlings are not the.
They're not,
and that would make whoever has the voice why the podlings separate.
Yeah,
because whoever has it has dominion over them.
Yeah, and maybe that person is either knew about that beforehand or is realizing that, and they're like, "Wait a minute! All these things I can command them."
Yeah, it's like these podlings are pest spirits whose simple goal is to like grow, to I guess like a plant's goal at the very core is to exist and then to make more. And so their way of making more is dangerous because when you touch someone, it creates these these shrubs.
Well, it's like, why wouldn't you want to be a shrub?
Yeah, like it's not malicious.
No.
It's nature.
It's just like, yep.
In the same way that like the rapids of Whitewater Rapids might drown an elk that tries to cross.
Yeah.
Not because it hates the elk or it's evil, because it's water.
Or it's like a mushroom reducing a tree to like soil.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is what we do. We just make everything this, and that is our job, and we're happy to do it.
Yeah, so this giant dragon, this elder spirit, keeps them at bay.
That in check.
I love that.
That's fun.
Okay, that's really great. Okay. So we have the beginning of the story. We have a couple key NPCs that are playing around. I think, you get trapped in this space, and then there's some questioning that will need to occur. Like, you'll have to go around and you'll have to talk to allies or other NPCs, figure out who's on your side, maybe who's not on your side, what information you can trust. I don't know how long we want it to last. Do we want this to be like it's solved in a couple of days, or is it over the course of several weeks? Because the reason I'm thinking of this is I started watching Mushishi.
Oh yeah.
On recommendation by you. In the first episode, there's all of these spirits the spirits that are blocking out the sun, and it's putting this town into perpetual shade or nighttime or twilight or whatever it is, and all the plants stop growing. Like, the crops are dying. This town, just on the ridge, you can see the sun, and so the town could move up, and it's not like they're gonna die. but they could move, but they'd have to uproot their lives. And so
Yeah.
they want to solve this instead. And to do that, they have to find the root of this spirit and dig it up. And it ties to some other characters, and there's a storyline about two twins or daughters or whatever, and one of them is cursed and one of them isn't. It's, this whole plot. But it takes, when I'm watching it, I'm thinking like, oh, they've got to solve this pretty quickly. But he's there for like 3 or 4 weeks. Like the problem is not solved in a day.
Yeah.
This main character sits and searches for this plant with the town. The town eventually becomes like remorseful and disconnected, don't like the main character anymore. Even though he's trying to solve their problem, they tend not to like him because they're feeling disheartened and maybe like they should give up, and maybe he's lying to them, right? Like this stranger comes into town and they don't know if he's telling the truth or not. They're just kind of listening to him. And so I feel like a similar thing could happen where, as time goes on, the town might be more and more aggressive towards the party.
Yeah.
They might dislike them. Maybe there's distrust. Maybe people start to distrust each other, and there's some in-house fighting that could occur. I think it depends on how long we want this adventure to take place.
Yeah, it could be that this town splits into sort of like factions where there's the ranger character, like the party could align with the ranger character. The party could be at odds with the ranger character because they don't understand each other. Certain parts of the town, like maybe the person who stole the voice is like is already kind of connected to a certain section of this town. Maybe there's like a familial line, like everybody who's a Clanton, like all the Clantons will back this person no matter what. Like they're tribal like that. And so that there winds up being sort of like arguments within the town, or they turn the whole town against the party. So you could play with those kinds of things where there's a diplomacy that has to take place. And yeah, maybe maybe it is over, a period of a week that this whole adventure takes place in.
I think having it stretch out to a longer period of time is really great. I think one thing that your players are going to have to get used to is you kind of playing with this time jump.
Yeah.
Because I think most people in D&D want this like, we got to town, and we're gonna solve this problem right away.
Yeah,
and like you go to sleep, and the next morning you wake up and you work. A lot of people play it like you work as hard as you can from the morning you wake up to the end to solve the problem until it's done.
Yeah,
and I think where you get the fun in the role playing from the story is the when the party hits a dead end, and you just have to sit in the like. What are we doing? Yeah. Like you're at the local inn and people are defeated. That's where you get really good role playing. That's where you get like the buzz in the town that stokes and maybe offers up the next hook for them to kind of lean into. And I think doing that over the course of a couple weeks is really fun.
So one way is like when I'm writing like an adventure like that where there's a long slow burn where it's going, I usually give like depending on how many, what I'll do is I'll write, here's sort of the inciting event. Here's what gets the party into the adventure. Then here's like you could say 4 to 6 events, and the DM can throw those in whenever. And so there's an event. Here's all the setup. Here's all the cast of characters. The DM knows all the backstories of all those characters, what their motivations are. So they've got that internalized. The party encounters that, and then the DM just allows a bunch of role playing. And then at a part where it's like it just naturally kind of runs out of gas and the players hit that dead end, then a DM has like 4 different events they can just throw down. And then it fires everything back up again. It's like, parties, the players are kind of like, well, we don't know what's going on. Maybe they're just at that point where they're starting to get frustrated and they're just like, I don't know maybe we just get out of here. Maybe just like run away or go to another town or try to hack our way through the podlings or whatever. then the DM throws in one of these events where it's like, oh, now something happens with the elder spirit, or now something happens with one of the NPCs, or now something happens with the monsters that are around. And then it's like, give something for the party and players to react to. And then they deal with that part. It moves the story forward a little bit more information is revealed. Then they hit another dead end, or, maybe they role play to the next thing and they figure something out. And as long as the excitement and the adventure is happening, let it unfold. And then when the DM senses, oh, we're kind of coming to another dead end, now I've got another event. I throw it in. So maybe there's like 3 events that all kind of push the story along, reveal more information, tell you more about what's going on, and then, gives you, like, the last event gives you sort of like, here's what you need to do to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that totally works.
It's a way to...
I think have you ever played Werewolf, the game Werewolf?
I don't know. I played the Vampire Masquerade game where you're like one of the...
So this is like a board game. It's not like
no.
like
Never played this.
The idea is, it's also called Ultimate Werewolf or One-Eyed Werewolf or whatever. But the idea is one person's a werewolf, everyone else is villagers with maybe a handful of unique abilities, and every night the werewolf kills someone off, and then the next next morning, people have to discuss based off of the information they were able to glean who it is, who the werewolf is. And if the players decide to kill the werewolf, then the game the game's over and villagers win. The werewolf or werewolves, because there can be multiple, eventually outnumber the villagers, they win. So their goal is to survive as long as they can.
Oh, wow.
And so you kind of want, like, every day, the reason I bring it up is every day that goes by, you learn a little bit more information. A little more is revealed. And so with this, I think what you want is, like, you don't push all the information out. You slowly reveal it. I think you also put things in the future for them to push after. So, for example, you might tell the party, a villager might tell the party that at night something happens in the morning. So then they're looking forward towards the night.
Yeah.
And then same thing at night, you might see someone disappear, and then you go, oh, well, we can't find them. And then the next day you might see them again. And so there's, like, always, like, the, you're trying to get to the next part. Like, I think having them, showing them that there's something to do in the future, and then, like you said, right when they're starting to run out of gas on something, give them another hook.
I mean, you could write this adventure where you have it day by day.
Yeah.
Like, you could say, you have the adventure set up, and then the first 2 pages of day 1. This is what happens in day 1, at the day and the nighttime. And then you flip the page and it's like, this is day 2, and this is day 3, and this is day 4. You could also do week 1.
Yeah.
So it's like a list of bullet points. Here, DM, for week 1, here is the list of bullet points of what happens. But at the end of week 1, this needs to happen, because now you're going to go into week 2, and then that's a whole nother thing. So
I like that. I like that quite a bit.
Yep.
Breaking it up between weeks and just saying, here are the things that are happening in each week. And you can disperse them how you see fit.
The DM could front load it so that the first part of the week is just craziness. And then they're, like, figuring it out as week 2 kind of pulls up. But they know, and it could be done to, like, star charts or, like, however you want to run it.
Yeah.
It's like, or the comet's going through the sky, and when it reaches the zenith, or if it sets, or the sun, or, like, however you want to do it, you could do it. Or you could just say it's just, this is how it all played out.
I dig it.
It's fun.
This is a very fun adventure. I like it quite a bit.
What happens at the end? Do we dare divulge?
I don't know.
Or should we leave it all secret? Like, we've said too much, but
I don't know. I think maybe if this ends up getting into a book or an adventure or something like that, I think we'll figure it out then.
Okay. Or please comment.
Oh, what do you think?
Tell us what should happen in this.
So beyond the puck of time.
Well, the puck of time was like week 1. Hey guys, stop. And then we just kept going. It's like week 4, week 10.
Yeah.
Well, take that, puck of time.
Take that.
You're not the boss of us. I'm sorry. Get carried away.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Obojima Podcast. You can follow us on Discord, Instagram, TikTok, other places. You can watch the podcast or listen to the podcast on Spotify and Amazon and Apple Music and other places like that, on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Please leave a comment on how you think this adventure should end.
Totally want to know.
Thank you again, and we will catch you next time.